Don't worry, I'm not gonna do any spoilers or anything. Don't worry, calm down. We're gonna start off the bat by just randomly starting, so yeah. This is the first time I have actually physically, at least for me, physically identified myself with an Asian character physically. Mostly I've always had to go, emotionally and character-wise, of course. I mean, I could be the only one thinking this or feeling this, but this girl, I'm seeing her features, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's just like me. And I'm not from the Southeast countries, but I could just relate to her I could see myself physically in her so much more. And it's just so new to me. I was like, oh my gosh, this was just so new. And I just don't know how to put into words. And I'm just so happy. I'm very happy and grateful I actually got to experience this. I hear you saying, what about Mulan? And I'm like, well, no. Now, from my perspective, I grew up being told I was Mulan. And just Mulan. I couldn't be the other princesses because I didn't look like them. But looking at Mulan, I'm like, but I'm not Chinese. Now I get it, she's a figurehead for all Asians. But it's just like, still, I would look in the mirror and I'm like, my skin's not pale. My nose is not like hers. It's not flat like hers or that ideal type nose. And then I see Raya and I'm like, yes, those are my features. Those look more like me. So I just wanted to say that, just to explain why I'm very vocal saying, no, I'm not like Mulan. Because I just never really got to be appreciative about her being a figurehead for us, but rather be told I have to be just her. Now, don't get me wrong, I know I'm being totally biased here, and that's why I freaking love Raya. And the plot, the only real complaint, and I think that's all of our complaints here, is that there was just so much put into this film that it was kind of hard to flesh it out well enough for us to just enjoy it. But honestly, I don't really care. I'm just grateful that it's just been made. Now, here's my problem. One thing I've noticed is that people have been drawing similarities between Raya, Moana, and Mulan. Now, my first question is, why are we doing similarities? I saw this one channel draw similarities, and basically they were like, Raya is just like Moana and Mulan. There's these similar things, like the sword being crooked, like Shan Yu's sword and all that, and I'm just like, what? Are you saying Asian princesses are similar to each other? Just like Belle and Ariel? Snow White and Cinderella? Oh my gosh! I mean, don't get me wrong, but this sounds pretty racist. Just to be drawing similarities with these Asian and Polynesian characters. And then I realized, why aren't they mentioning Jasmine? And then I'm like, oh yeah. And people for some reason forget that's part of Asia. And I don't know, it's just like, if I mention Jasmine, they're like, well, that's a different it's different cultural-wise and aspect. I'm like, yeah, so is Moana and Mulan. What's going on here? I just want to point that out, and I think it's kind of scary. Now, I know people aren't meaning this to be racist or anything. I'm not saying that. But just seeing that be drawn so quickly, I'm just like, yeah, that doesn't need to be called out. We don't need to slam the brakes and be like, wait, what are we really saying here? Now, I'm not saying you can't draw similarities. You can draw similarities of why, but to just box it into a certain ethnic group, that's a bit concerning. If I were to draw a similarity with Raya, I go straight for Merida. Because one thing I loved also about this movie is that both learned that they were wrong in their actions, or they had some part that they had to realize, oh yeah, I screwed up and I had to take responsibility for that. As well as the fact that they are totally awesome warrior women. So yeah. Now, I get it. I get why people are kind of drawing similarities between Sisu and the genie. And I get that. But can I just say, I don't know, as you can hear, someone with a pretty characteristic voice. It's just nice to get also another main character who also has whose voice is regularly not the norm, I guess. Just not what people would expect, I guess, soothing or princessy. And I'm just like, Yeah, that can just go F itself. Anyway, you know what I mean. It's just, I was just like, yes, yes.